Good morning and a warm welcome to this week's edition of The Dialogue on Soul TV. My name is Prince Apollo. It is that time we look back at the major events of the week. Of course, the panel is set to take you through those major events. Well, a very busy week we've had from the Holy Week, but the death of Pope Francis majorly dominated the headlines, but also other activities happening within the political formations and political parties will be at the center of our discussion. Welcome aboard. The panel is set. Dr. Jira Duwerehe Wanzala is here with me. Richard Baguma is with us this morning, but also Becca Baterure, senior journalist, will also join us later. Let me introduce to you Dr. Duwerehe Wanzala, a researcher, a public policy researcher, but also an associate lecturer from Uganda Management Institute. Happy to always have you on the show. Speak to our viewers.
Good morning, our esteemed viewers. I'm so happy to be here this morning, like I do every Saturday. My apologies last week.
Sure.
I had a trip to the Elgon, that's Mount Masava region, and I was not able to be here with you, but I'm glad to be here. It's such a pleasure to always be with you, Apple.
Sure.
And of course, thanks to the management of Salt Media for giving us this opportunity to share with the public.
Yeah. So you had your Easter weekend in the mountains.
Yeah, sure. You know it as Mount Elgon, but in Mbale, we call it Mount Masava.
Oh,
that's how it is called, either this side of the border or Kenyan side.
Sure.
Yeah, that's how the local community calls it. It's raining heavily, people are busy, and there is hope that they will produce food, but also politics is very hot on the ground.
Sure.
Especially from our colleagues, the NRM. People are crossing in the villages. You think elections will be held tomorrow. Yeah.
All right, and briefly, how was your week?
My week was okay. I had the pleasure to initiate my daughter to Christianity.
Yeah.
That's baptism on Easter Monday. You know how resurrection is important to us, the Christian faith. And of course, I only have a few things of concern that are going on in the region, in Africa, the conflicts. When I look at DRC, when I look at Sudan, Khartoum, when I look at South Sudan, I look at Al-Shabaab gaining ground again in Somalia, it gives me worry whether our region, the IGAD region or East African region, we are really going to have stability. Because that shows displacement, refugees, people having a hopeless life yet. This is the time when Africa needs to rethink ourselves.
Yeah.
If you look at Europe, because of the US policies now, they are coming together and saying, okay, we needed to realize our potential.
Yeah.
You know, to rebuild Europe, we need to rebuild the security of Europe with our own financing. We need to, if you look at the tariffs politics of Trump, people are saying as EU, we also have a huge market of 28 trillion. US is 29 trillion. Probably we can also use our power. Now in Africa, we are just running up and down like headless chicken. Even the integration processes we have seem not to be working. They are simply, conferences of leaders to talk to themselves while the policies, the populations are detached. So for me, this makes me to worry about the future of Africa. We have the youngest population in the world, and yet it is fastest growing. Actually, we are likely to overtake others, India, China, in the future. In 100 years, we may have overtaken them.
Sure.
Now look at here, Kampala alone, a city of less than 4 million people. but you can just get entangled in a jam, pickpockets. If the population increases, what are we going to do? I think we need to think hard as Africa outside the box,
All right.
so that we make our regions, our continents better.
I think those are valid concerns, and His Excellency the President this week also pledged to send more troops to bolster the interventions in Somalia to stabilize Somalia again, and that reignites a debate on when will this operation, this peacekeeping mission end.
Now you can see, Apple, a peacekeeping mission cannot be permanent. You know, it is just one step towards attaining peace, and then you exit. But consistently, with time, we are going to be looked at as an occupational force, an outside force working for the West to occupy a country. As you know, Somalia is largely Muslim, almost 100% Muslims. They are almost all related clan system. And they are so much grounded in that Middle East ideology.
Yep.
And I think, just like it happened with the US in Afghanistan, it may be completely difficult to defeat these negative forces.
Yeah.
And maybe a better approach, another approach, could be attained. Because look at who has been meeting the monetary bill in Somalia.
Yes,
it is largely the US
and the UN.
And the UN through the African Union. Now the US policy is changing. Under Trump, he's preferring more to have military bases bolstered around Somaliland and the neighboring countries, instead of funding other countries, giving them money.
Yeah.
So if nobody is paying our check, what are we going to do? But of course, that operation has been good in terms of balancing our foreign exchange.
Yeah.
That if our troops are earning something,
we get some dollars.
Our weapons are being hired, we get some dollars, and therefore it strengthened our shilling. But in achieving the goal, you know, because right from formation of the Mogadishu government, it was formed in exile in Kenya.
Yeah.
The parliament first sat in Kenya before they later took it to Khartoum. But also history has shown that these parliaments or governments that are formed in exile
actually
rarely last.
There was a time when the president of Somalia was residing here in Kampala.
Absolutely. History has shown that governments that are formed outside the country, like it happened in Uganda during the Mosh conference. You remember Uganda also has ever had a government and a parliament made from Tanzania. And when they came here, you saw what happened. Instabilities and so forth, until we had the NRA, which was homegrown, though unfortunately through rebellion, but they were able to capture power and sustain it, and then sustain it for some time to let people go back to work, go back to work. So do we have legitimacy? Those are the questions we have.
Legitimacy we have.
We have legitimacy from the other bodies. How about from the population? How the majority? Why is that a mere drawdown on troops? Like under ATMIS, we have been training Somali forces so that they are able to take charge of their own security. The moment we reduce the troops, the Al-Shabaab have come and taken over, a large territory.
Exactly.
Even by yesterday, I was hearing there was fighting on the outskirts of Mogadishu.
Imagine.
So just imagine if we got out today, will the government in Mogadishu stay?
That's a big challenge. Well, those are valid concerns, and this is the dialogue. You can be ready to take part in the discussion by sending in your comments. We stream live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, X, formerly Twitter. You can also catch up with us on those social media platforms. And of course, Dr. Gerard Wanzala, I have pointed out that the death of Pope Francis at the age of 88 dominated the headlines, and the whole it was on Easter Monday, and since then tributes have been pouring in from across the whole world, extolling the pontiff, especially for his profound love and care, especially for the poor and vulnerable. And I need your comment before we head into the main topics for discussion this morning. What do you speak of the legacy of Pope Francis?
First of all, as an Anglican, we are an offshoot of the Catholic Church, and therefore we also give that respect, due respect to the Pope, and of course my sympathies to the Catholic fraternity for losing Pope Francis. With the little I have read about Pope Francis, or what I have seen, for me, one is a reflection about his life.
Sure.
That you can grow up, you work in the nightclub as a bouncer, and then you rise up to the position of Pope.
Sure.
That you can overcome criticisms of at some point they allege that he participated into supporting the dictatorship in Argentina and led to disappearance of people. But regardless of all this, he was able to overcome those negative narratives for him to become a great pope. The other for me I saw was the issue of attempts to unite, different faiths. He was this kind of liberal pope who did not take a very hardline stance, on the original Catholic doctrines, but he had to allow conversations on even some controversial issues within the Vatican. But also what struck me is the issue of being down to earth. While he had all this luxury around him as the head of the Vatican, he chose to live a humble life, to drive in simple cars, to dwell, to leave the apartment of the Pope and stay with other cardinals in a simple chapels within the Vatican, but also his contribution to peace. Sure. Actually, I feel so sad about South Sudan, because you remember he had to summon these characters, and he knelt down and kissed their shoes, saying that in the interest of peace, let me kneel down, kiss your shoes. And I saw them actually shocked that actually the Pope was kneeling down to kiss their shoes,
actually
to plead with them.
The big irony is that at the time of his death, the two juggernauts in the Sudan conflict are again at war.
Absolutely, that's why I feel sad about it. He made that effort. It went viral when he was kissing the shoes of Salva Kiir, and today the same pet issues of tribalism, issues of greed, issues of power.
That is the picture.
Absolutely, are causing senseless death of people.
The pontiff kissing the shoes of Garanga.
I don't know how Trump calls sometimes such countries, but it is sad. You see how he went down to kiss their shoes, to beg them to sign a contract
for peace
and restore peace in South Sudan. Today, it is already torn apart.
Sure.
And for me, basically, that is it. But for me, the highlight of the week was the Pope dying like today, and then seeing already a delegation of from our parliament has already arrived at Vatican as if they are in charge of organizing the funeral and excited, taking photos. And I think sometimes we are too petty.
All right. Thank you so much.
We are rushing. The Pope has died. We are rushing. What are you rushing to do?
Thank you so much. Possibly that depicts the love we have for
Not
Pope Francis and the
Andy.
Catholic Church. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce to you Richard Baguma. And Richard is a veteran journalist, but also now a political commentator. Happy to have you on the show, Richard. Speak to our viewers.
Good morning, Apollo. Good morning, Dr. Weri. To God, the Almighty, be the glory for enabling us to be here, as always, and giving us a voice to speak.
Sure.
And also to you, our viewers and listeners who follow us. You really are our anchor. You know, today I drove past Dr. Werike on the bypass. He was, in my view, he was crawling. So I just even hooted and waved. But in Urijankwere, there is something, say, wantanga kufana kutanga kunuka. If you die before me, but I smell before you.
You overtook him.
I overtook him.
But you came more than 20 minutes.
20 minutes after him. No, actually more than half an hour, because he came earlier. And so they are working on our roads. Thanks to that, I think it's good to have the roads worked upon. I think it's just the little things of alternative routes. So I enjoyed the jam where I was until we took charge of our own traffic and started directing the vehicle.
Okay, sure. Richard, a quick comment on the legacy of Pope Francis, who has been extolled for his dislike for that extravagant life and that profound love and care for the poor and vulnerable.
I think it's important to have love for the poor, but not to be understood to love poverty.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, I hear people quote the Bible to justify poverty.
Did he love poverty?
No. I think it is important to keep it in context. That loving the poor did not mean that he loved poverty. Because you see, I hear people argue that, you know, poverty is, when you go to heaven, it is difficult for a rich person to go to heaven, except like passing through the eye of the needle. Blessed are the poor. You know, I think we must be very careful not to take these things in a context that we will now start praising and raising the profile of poverty. So the simplicity in his living and his life is partly, I think, because of the order he belonged to. The order he belonged to, the Jesuits, emphasized poverty as part of their vocation. I was in Kenya one day. I found a Ugandan priest, Jesuit, and I went to where he was living and how he was living, and that's when he really told me about their vocation and poverty. But the Pope went beyond just the simple life. It was one time, actually, why it was interesting for me. We were in New York and he came to the UN. And you know, the vehicles that the leaders have during the UN General Assembly. Of course, the American one is the highest spectacle. Helicopters above, 27 motorcycles around, I don't know how many vehicles. And this man was in his Kalito vehicle, but he had the highest enthusiasm and crowd. So there is soft power and the hard hot power. The Pope wields huge power. Huge, enormous soft power. And you see how people will troop to go. Dr. Werike was talking about a few of our guys who have gone there. Dr. Werike, you have been to Rome, I guess. It's a nice city. It's a good city.
I think 1.3 million followers.
It's not very billion.
1.3 billion followers.
But I think he, for me, one of the things is his very consistent, insistent message around Gaza. Around this Israeli genocide. I think, despite, you know, all this, he's been very consistent on that. And you saw him with South Sudan and all these other conflicts. So I think he was also a pacifist. He liked to have peace. If you can get these men who are killing each other and having their people killed, and you kiss their feet or shoes, and it helps. Of course, it doesn't help. Kissing my shoes doesn't mean I will not box this guy next to me here. If I have a conflict with him, I will still box him anyway. But I think he was also a pacifist.
The producer ran
But
again.
the other one is
That's a sign of humility.
This is when he was kissing the
the
guys in South Sudan.
I think it is a sign of devotion to peace and
it's a powerful,
a powerful symbol.
But of course the guns are not silent. But the other thing for me is his readiness to adjust to some of the times. There is an enormous pressure on religions to adjust to some of the new times. To adjust to the digital era, to adjust to the openness, to adjust to the debates around spirituality and religion and denomination. So I think, despite this very constrained traditions, I think he was able to wriggle around in the letters that he wrote to the faithful. You could see. And I think those are important aspects of his legacy.
Thank you, Richard. And again, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Beka Bate. Beka Bate is a senior journalist working with Uganda Radio Network. Beka, welcome to the show. Speak to our viewers, but again, go straight to the Pope. Lauded as an extraordinary leader, especially for his modest lifestyle, dislike for extravagance, and walking out of the line to ask for peace, especially for the people in Gaza and South Sudan.
Good morning, viewers. Sorry for coming late.
It's okay.
In Kampala here. It's like a starved kid who has spent months without eating. All of a sudden he's rescued, and you bring all manner of food at once. There is the cassava, there is everything. So when the government finally woke up to the mess that our roads are, it instead decided to work on all the roads at the same time. So everywhere you pass, the road is closed. Sure. So sometimes it becomes a problem navigating Kampala. Be it as it may, we are here. I'm happy to be here once again. I thank the managers of this radio TV station. I told you I like Pastor Jingo. I actually, there is no single day that goes when I have not watched him. I watch him, and you know one of the reasons I disagree with him on many things, but I also agree.
What's that?
But I also agree because when he's preaching, he's not telling us Jesus and what have you only, but he speaks to our daily troubles.
Yeah, sure.
And these daily troubles are not only for Christians or the born again and what have you. They are for every individual. And the other one, he also takes no prisoners. Yeah. When you take him on, he brings it back in full force. So I find that personality very interesting. You don't attack him and you think he'll take it light. No, he will box you twice as much. So that character I like. And
the pontiff, the death of Pope Francis.
I unlike the Pope, for me, one of the biggest things I have loved the Pope, and I really felt very bad that he died, especially now. 3 things. First, his take on the killings that are happening in the Middle East, that are happening in Palestine, the genocide that has gone on. For how long? For 2 years now.
More than 50,000 people dead.
Yes, more than and those are the ones they can account for. There are another 50,000 perhaps that who are in the rubble, who have not been recovered. And the Americans and their friends in Israel, they are not about to stop. So I have seen that the Pope has been calling people in Gaza every single day, to the point that actually even on Easter Sunday he called them the day before he passed. So that is commendable. I think is the first Pope in the history, I mean in modern history, to having taken a standpoint on what is happening in Gaza, a very stark decision he has taken, that surely there is a problem here. I disagree with him. No, I don't disagree with him. For him, he's consistent. He doesn't like war. That's why you've seen what his take in Palestine, his take in South Sudan, the same thing in Ukraine and Russia. He has. Many times he called for the silencing of the guns in Ukraine. The difference I have with him in Ukraine is that Ukraine allowed to be used by the Americans. Me, I'm a supporter of Russia 311. Yeah. So Ukraine allowed its territory to be used by the Americans and the West to wage war on Russia. And me being a supporter of Vladimir Putin, because he offers a counterbalance to the Americans, sure. I perhaps there I just didn't take the point of view of the Pope, because he did not address the entire reason why there was a conflagration in that part of the country. So because the aggressor is the Americans. The Americans told Russia when they tried to take missiles, what is missiles in Cuba? They said, no, over our dead body, you cannot have them stationed in Cuba. And now they are stationed in Ukraine, you know. So surely, when you allow yourself to be used as a pawn, whatever happens to you, are allowed to take on. So perhaps for me, the other third thing is that the Pope has been standing up against Donald Trump. When everybody is capitulating, the Pope is saying, no, what you are doing is not correct. There are very few people who are willing to do that in the world. So he has been, the point of reason, he has been one of the few people who are willing to stand up to America and say, this is wrong. Yeah. You know, so now Trump is on how many? 3 months, close to 4 months in his second term. So the world is capitulating. So sure, the Pope is dying at a time when we need him the most, because America is trying to undo the world. And you must have somebody who is willing to stand up against the Americans. I'm not seeing that elsewhere. I'm not seeing it Vladimir Putin doing it. I'm not seeing it Xi Jinping doing it. I'm not seeing Keir Starmer in America, I mean in the US doing it. So surely the person who has been trying to say no, wrong is wrong, irrespective of who is doing it, is the Pope. So we pray that when the conclave finally chooses, when the white smoke comes, we get somebody equal as good who is willing to stand up for the poor. Because you see, he's not glorifying poverty like my friend Richard is saying, Baguma. But trying to understand the perils of the people, majority of the people, trying to understand that, to relate, to relate what they are in, because me, that is my take always. I always want to be on the side of those who are being oppressed, the side of the oppressed. I want to be on the side of the oppressed. So most of the time, poverty is an oppressing thing. So the Pope being on the side of those who are oppressed, surely that is the essence of religion. Those who are weak, those who need the most, who need him the most, are the people who are oppressed. And it is understandable. It's the first Pope to come from the subaltern. It's the first Pope to come outside Europe. Argentina, of course, Argentina is considered part of the subaltern. You can't compare it to Europe, where the popes have been coming from. So surely he understood where he was coming from, and he never forgot. He never forgot his constituency and the perils of his people. Yes, we have seen him moving. I think he's the most traveled in his 12 years. Perhaps he's the most traveled Pope in the recent history, because he's been into almost all continents. He's the first Pope to be in the Middle East. He led prayers in UAE. He was to go to other countries. I've forgotten. Was it Oman or what? But also in the Middle East. So surely he had set on a mission to transform humanity, to stand there for humanity. So it's not only the Catholic Church that has lost somebody; it is all of us, humanity.
Thank you so much, Becca. and to me, what I admire most is what other people have spoken about. The dislike for that extravagant lifestyle and wanting to live that modest life, even when you have plenty, you have plenty around you. When he came to Uganda, I think it's the same thing Dr. Willie related to. He opted for a modest
Very small car.
transport
Yes.
that can take him around, not this huge convoy. And I think our leaders should at least pick a leaf and that can make a difference.
You know, the cars of our president, you can stand for 10 minutes when they are still passing.
Not only the president. All right, our viewers.
Papa,
Sir.
did Bate invite you for Idi? Because he might have left me out and I may accuse him for nothing. So probably he did.
Please do
invite
accuse him.
you. Because probably he invited you. But I've still been waiting.
It has been long since I last saw Richard. He doesn't like me.
Did you invite him for Easter?
I don't celebrate this.
Oh, okay.
He probably doesn't celebrate Idi.
This is the dialogue on Soul TV. Richard Baguma Tinkasigire, Dr. Gerard Werewansala. We've been joined by Becca Bate. And now let's take on our big issue for today, the preparations.
Sorry for interrupting
It's okay,
you.
it's
There
okay.
is something here internally that is also important. Somebody very important who also passed, Major John Kazora. I think it would be unfair for
Very
us
unfair.
not to talk about Kazora. It so happened that in a few, the last 2 weeks I've been reading the Hansard. And I was blown by Kazora's submission.
Yes.
And you see, opposing Museveni in 2005, 2004, you know, when you know that your destiny perhaps is tied up with his destiny, it took somebody of courage, of character. So we mourn with the people, the relatives, and the country for the passing of Major John Kazora.
Sure.
His contribution to a better Uganda cannot be overemphasized. He joined the bush to bring about a better Uganda. Unfortunately, like he says, he was betrayed, and that betrayal carries on. We are going to discuss election. It carries on. Somebody still thinks. Kazora said it is unacceptable that people are writing the constitution and want to put the name Yoweri Museveni in the constitution. What kind of constitution is that? What kind of a country are you trying to create where the interest of one person supersedes the interest of the country? That I read in his submission in Parliament. So surely the people of Kashari, the people of Uganda, the people of Western Uganda, we lost somebody who really loved this country, and we want to commiserate with all those who regard Kazora as somebody who had something positive to a better Uganda.
I have to apologize. I'm sorry we didn't look at that, but of course we commiserate with the family of Major retired John Kazola, the FDC fraternity. I think he still have a home. Okay, he died when he still had a home in FDC.
No, I was told actually he had crossed to ANT.
To ANT.
Yeah, because the
Alliance.
FDC, the friends of my friend, the doctor, took it back to the NRM. So he left.
Oh,
Okay, I avoided talking about Uncle John.
yeah, Kazola.
I avoided talking about Uncle John
Please do, just a minute.
because of the because of some of the sentiments he had, the deep disappointment and disillusionment he had in the leadership, the current leadership, specifically President Museveni and his family, which he expressed openly. But he also had a very deep disillusionment with his colleagues, some of his bush colleagues, whom he considered sold their souls for silver. So, I mean, you are careful sometimes, but he's one person who was very amiable, but also I think he was such a mobilizer.
Yeah.
We discussed when he wanted to stand in Mbarara, municipality, now city. And I am a voter there, and I told him, Uncle John, No, I don't think you will make it here. It is very difficult. But we would have conversations. And I last had a conversation with his wife, I think was it last month. He was very bad off.
Naomi Kabashadi.
Yes. But you see, the life of Uncle John is a reflection of the tragedy that this country is facing.
Sure.
Yeah, it's in many ways, it's a reflection of the tragedy that is. We are struggling, a lot of us are struggling with the wrongs that are going on, but without the power to fight and confront them.
Or to change it.
Yeah, even to stand and speak. You see, you fall sick and you are sick for 20 plus years, and you eventually need resources to go. The resources are controlled and treated as a household matter. So you have to go back to the ones who deeply disillusioned you and disappointed you and despite your sacrifices.
That was his story.
So you see, that for me is part of the tragedy. And I said, maybe on TV I will keep away from from this talk.
Okay, I will give a minute to Doctor also to make a comment on the life and death of Major retired John Kazora. And to me, I think his disgruntlement and what you call betrayal is a story you will hear from the likes of Miriam Matembe, Dr. Besje, and others.
For me, I first interfaced directly with the Major John Kazora when I was a student in Makerere. These are people who used to come to inspire us when they were promoting the FDC at the time. I think he was a member of the Parliamentary Advocacy Forum, PAFO, and at that time, I considered him to be one of the strong-willed people who went with President Museveni in the bush and wanted to pursue the line that we were told to follow of restoring democracy, rule of law, protection of human rights, the issues that took them to the bush. And all his statements and submissions said, look, we left skulls in Luwero. People died for us to bring this, and we made a social contract.
Sure.
We brought a constitution, promised them that we are going to do A, B, C, D, and I think we should stick to that. I only recall one time when he was a bit emotional. He said on joining the opposition, he alleged President Museveni was fond of visiting his mom. And then he was in Kashari and told the mom that if you tell your son, Kazora, that if he doesn't come back to the fold, he will hit by a tornado. And then he seemed to be troubled. That time he was like, which kind of tornado is this? Does it mean death? Does it mean this? But this death did not come to happen as he anticipated. But of course, that group of him, Major General Mugisha Muntu, and others who went to the bush and decided to stick, of course, they have written a chapter in the history of this country that there are people of courage and people of principle who can stick with what they mean and who can stand with what they decide to do. He was sick from 2003, that's a long time. Yeah. He would have chosen to, in exchange for treatment and the support, and go back, but he did not. So for me, I take him as one of those strong-willed Ugandans. Yeah. Becoming an opposition candidate in Ankole particularly, even today, is very challenging because there are areas where you are taken as a rebel, not even a politician, even when you are just holding a microphone.
He has remained stuck to his guns.
He is stuck to his guns up to the end.
I read somewhere under what you talked about, that he was told to, when he went back to ask for help when he was sick, that he was told to start mobilizing for NRM. He said, well, I need help, but I will not, even if you give me help, I will not mobilize. for NRM. I think that's his conviction
And for me,
to remain, to stick to his principles.
yes, and for me, actually, there is an unethical behavior that is going on in this country that I don't condone.
But he was given that assistance.
Yes, he was given,
Medical
but
assistance.
still, it was very unethical that we are tying huge sums of money to supporting a few people in exchange for something. Just yesterday, I was discussing the issue of health with a colleague from Western Uganda. If you look at the budget, we are spending on millions of dollars to treat a few people outside this country, while we have an ailing healthcare system.
Sure.
You see that I think it is insane. It is somehow insane, because if you phased this funding over a period of 5 years, then we would have state-of-the-art health facilities, including attracting people, because it is cheaper to treat someone here if you invest here. Many people are struggling. If you take someone to India with a helper, the air ticket, then because of review, you are not able to come back. You have to stay there for review.
Yeah.
It is so expensive. Why can't we use these moments where we have these senior citizens suffering with these ailments, and then we reflect and invest in ourselves?
Thank you so much, Dr. Jared Wanzala. And I implore our viewers to, of course, be part of this debate. You can send in your comments and observations on the legacy of Pope Francis, but of course, I'll be introducing our main topic for discussion. Tell us what you think about the legacy of Pope Francis, and perhaps, if you want, now that we've brought in the passing of a Bush War hero, but also former legislator, retired Major John Kazola, you can also make a comment if you wish. Let's have an engagement with you by WhatsApp, by SMS. The number is 0701 60 9906. Please do. Quickly now, let's delve into the activities happening within different political formations and political parties as we prepare for 2026 general elections. This week, the NRM kicked off nominations for grassroots elections for party structures this week. And other parties are also doing some other activities. But for NRM, it comes after a successful launch of a party roadmap, highlighting certain activities that will be undertaken in preparation for 2026. But of course, we look at other political formations, at least from the National Unity Platform. The President, Robert Chagulanyi, has said for him and his party, it will be a protest vote. That speaks that speaks also to possibly how their methodology will be like in the 2026 general elections. But they are also preparing in their own way. The DP is also organizing a delegates conference, also to prepare for their internal elections. We will, in these 6 minutes, hear from you, Dr. Jared Wanzala. Do you think the NLM leaders, as they have been boasting to be taking the lead, setting the pace for other parties, do you think they have a reason to boast that they are leading? Indeed, as a party in government, they are setting the pace for other political parties to also do exactly preps for 2026.
Apple, when I look at how political party politics plays out in Uganda, we behave like frogs. When it's during dry season, we are very silent.
They hibernate.
And, then when we see the clouds forming and we're expecting rain, then we begin the noise. But most times, this kind of noise does not carry any value, any message that really would be useful to the people that we intend to serve. Because what does political party preparation mean for a political party saying we have. One of the things is the structures.
Yeah.
Are there functional structures? And then when you have these functional structures, do you have organized systems within to create them? Now, of course, I will use the example of the NRM. Recently, I was in some spaces questioning, of course, their membership data, where they say they have about 20 million members, more than the National Voters Register. That is a hoax. Because there is a difference between a member, a supporter, and an associate of a political party. A fan. If you are a member, it means you understand the constitution of that party, you believe in its ideals, you also believe in probably what the leadership are doing, and probably you do a contribution to that party in financial terms for it to be sustainable. But almost all these political parties don't know how many members they have. I saw the Uganda People's Congress say they have 6 million. This is a political party which has never renewed the structure since 1980. 1980. So every time a chairman dies, it's a wife either who
35
inherits.
years.
It's either a wife who inherits or a son, and it continues. Then when NRM arrives in the same place, the same person wears yellow and dances with NRM people. So a political party must register its members genuinely who believe in the party. 2, members must be trained, okay, and about the constitution of the party and what the party stands for. 3, there should be clear sources of fundraising. How do you raise the money? How do you account for this money? And then how is this money used? What is the party program around? Then there should be training of potential leaders, cadres. I never see these trainings going on unless they're initiated by foreign groups here, like Frederick Ebert Stiftung, Frederick Adenoir, Foundation, and otherwise themselves even using. Sometimes I even wonder, because the Political Parties and Organizations Act limits the amount of money a political party can raise from abroad in a year. So what the government did, they agreed, was to get funding from the government for political parties that are represented in parliament. There are parties here that are getting billions, even in opposition. I know NRM takes the biggest chunk, but when I meet the NRM people, they say, oh, this money is all taken to the office of the chairman, and we just see Madame Namial moving around, we don't know what they are doing. Then we say, we find secretariat people saying, we see Vazukulu parallel groups that seem to compete with the secretariat. NUP, there's a similar, sometimes when you look at the accountability of this money from the Electoral Commission, about 7 billion
headquarters
per year. Sometimes you laugh. Yes, I commend them. I commend them. But there is also kind of opaqueness in the way you can have, but there are these trainings and so forth. So political parties need to have genuine membership register. They need to have internal democracy to renew their structures. They need to have think tanks to write manifesto, to look at the country's problems and generate a manifesto that they are going to sell. Sometimes presidential campaigns happen here. There's a time we're analyzing manifestos of political parties. You find a political party with a one-pager, and there's no detail in what they intend to do.
I get you.
So
I get you. Dr. Gerald Werewanzala, in the interest of time, we'll be going for a break. But I get your argument. You're assessing readiness on what activities are being done, not before elections, but during the whole term of elections.
Some are during the training and recruitment are continuous.
And you even
but
think,
there are those that are supposed to be for the electoral cycle, which are also not moving very well in almost every
and then you think even the party in government, the ruling party, is not also well prepared.
Apple, and let me tell you, it is deliberate. You see, when you build a great institution, a political party, leaders emerge. But if you're a leader, you disorganizes your own institution, your political party, then you suppress leaders who would have emerged, and therefore now people have to continue running after you, your family members, others. Can you take me to so on, so on? So they remain in a state of confusion as you dominate.
We go for a break. When we return, we continue to assess the readiness of political parties and formations ahead of 2026. This is the dialogue on Soul TV. My name is Prince Apollo. On the panel this morning, I have Dr. Gerard Duwele Wansara. I have Richard Baguma Tinkasimire. I have Becca Baterule, looking at the preparations within political formations and political parties ahead of 2026 general elections. Well, of course, looking at the activities happening within those political formations, we assess their readiness for the much anticipated general elections. Well, before we went for a break, Dr. Gerard Duwele was submitting his opinions on those preparations, but let me quickly read these few messages before we proceed. Good morning, Apollo and the panel. May the souls of the faithfully departed, more so the soul of our Holy Father, rest in eternal peace. Apollo, let's call a spade and not a big spoon. Hearing you say that our leaders, more so in Africa, should borrow a leaf on the simple life the Pope lived, it's a big joke. We only need prayers for the entire world because things are really falling apart, just like Dr. Said earlier said. His earlier submissions, see what is going on in the Middle East, Africa, now Indian cutting off the water to the Pakistan. Surely the anger is so much. Reconciliation should be exercised. We should love one another as God loved us. By the way, tell doctor we are still waiting for Malewa. All right. I remember on some platform you said you were enjoying Malewa in the mountains of Oregon, and hopefully this is, let me check, Major or Team Joel, or Team Major Joel. Thank you so much for the comment and observation, and for tuning in every time. We are here, we are sure that you are watching. Okay, another message here, and he says, good morning, and okay. Good morning, Salt and the panel. Whereas we refer to the law of natural justice, there is also a law of natural injustice, which is not stated. I am 37 years now, but in my time of seeing Museum 7, it's hard to be convinced that those he went to the bush with understood his agenda at one point. Even today, none can claim so. We can only speculate, since no one is tall enough to see the future. Rest in peace, Major John Kazola, Osbatin Mutungo. Did you pick the real message?
Yeah, I think I seem to understand what he's saying. I think he seems to say that while they followed him based on probably the 10-point program to restore whatever they promised, but probably the president has his own agenda in his head that none understands.
All right.
Today.
Please continue and conclude on your submission on the readiness of these political parties. Especially you were hinting on NRM also being a party in government, but not so ready as possibly it should be.
I think the NRM has an edge over others. One, they have access to, classified expenditures that we cannot follow. We see president giving envelopes everywhere. Opponents crossing and being given jobs. And also NRM as a party, it collects more from its members of parliament monthly. Yeah. In terms of the total amount raised as a monthly contribution from their salaries from the party. And also, if you look at the budget from the Electoral Commission, which many people refer to as iPod money, it's actually not iPod money. This is taxpayers' money, which comes through the Electoral Commission. They receive the biggest chunk of it. Every year, I think it's over 30 billion. Sure. So they get it. And of course, the other from their members now, you are seeing from LOC1 flag bearer, they are paying 10,000 as progressively. So if you have many candidates competing as it's expected, they raise more resources. The other is that when they go to elections, they don't go alone. They go with the security forces, they go with money, they go with the power of incumbency. They enjoy it. But as a preparation, as a political party, I don't think NRM runs well as a political party. I just conclude by giving you an example. I looked at the population of the UK, 72 million people. The Labour Party, which is the biggest, has 300,000 members
Less than
who
half
subscribe.
of the whole population.
Not very less than 1 million, but there are 72 million people in UK. Then you look at the Conservatives, about 160,000. Reform UK and the Liberal Democrats, about 50,000 members. So if you say you have 20 million members of NRM, then you yourselves, you don't know your party. You don't know what you have. And similarly, we are seeing roadmaps, like in FDC, I see a roadmap, but the vigor is not as it was before, because I'm told they are nominating presidential candidates for flag bearer, I think this month in May, who will go around. But in terms of organization, because I thought it would be better to start from the grassroots, then conclude with the top. But they seem to go with the top first. So preparation.
And what about NUP? In terms of
NUP,
preparation?
NUP, I'm seeing the wave is already gaining ground in Uganda, but I don't know how, because last time you remember they were very new, and the selection of candidates was done in a way that some people remained complaining. But of course, under the circumstances, probably that's how they had to do it. I'm seeing them also with the roadmap. I've seen their candidates as I was moving to the east, particularly Jinja and Iganga. I think they are very active on the ground, regardless. So, but largely in other parts of the country, I think there is separation. If I go like to my district, their office was raided, closed. Anybody who raises their head as NUP, accused of crimes, and they run away from the village. So the environment is not conducive for some political parties, specifically the NUP, to organize.
All right.
So they will have to go through probably a similar model. They call it modeling through effect. Just move through and then try to fight within the circumstances.
All right, and thank you so much, Dr. Jared Warewanzala. Let me hear from you, Richard. And Dr. Were talked about the practice of frogs who they hibernate during the dry season, and they wait for when the first drops of rain fall, and they croak, and they're active. And he relates that to the practices of the NRM and other political parties in this country. I don't know whether you find you find sense in that comparison.
I find humor. You see, I didn't know that Dr. Werike can once in a while be like President Museveni when he's trying to become, when he raises his hand and say, whoa, whoa. I was laughing all through. But I would start from where he ended. He talked about the muddling through effect. So, assessing readiness, I think partly we would be unfair if we don't look at the political environment in the country vis-a-vis the requirements for readiness by a political party. Attempting to get political power out of the hands of President Museveni is regarded criminal. So that's the starting point. Opposing, being in opposition, is regarded as criminal. And the crime fighting machinery generally treats you that way. That is why Dr. Werike, and that's why I said I'll take it from where he ended, will tell you that in Amisindwa, which is not so different from several other parts of the country, once you declare, for example, your NUP, which is kind of the premier opposition group now,
Yep.
You will attract crime fighters' attention, and you'll see criminal accusations and allegations coming up against you. So I think that's an important context that we should place the political parties in when we are assessing the readiness. The second thing is the personalization of political parties by the leaders. The accusation of personalization is usually labeled against President Museveni and the Euro group. But if you look at all of them, the elements of personalization are very strong. You'll find one group, blue group, is around Mafabi. Another blue group is around Dr. Besigye. Then you'll find a red group around Chaguranyi. Forget anything else.
Is it the big man syndrome you're talking about?
I don't know whether it's the big man, but the personalization, that the entities are personalized in these individuals. So while in the larger part, you are criminalized for opposing, even within these entities, you are criminalized and hounded and for opposing this person at the helm. By the way, not just opposing, even voicing an opinion contrary to his position. There's no request for clarification.
To some extent, others think that has helped NRM remain together. I mean, has created cohesion within NRM, that they have someone who can keep them together, who can superintend and I mean in times of conflicts or what, who can rein on the conflicting parties, and he brings them together.
Yeah, but you see,
that strong voice.
But you see, if you say you are talking about a party, and you say there is only one individual who can then make things happen, then that's not a party. Because a party is an institution. It should have institutional mechanisms, processes, and methods of doing that. So then it's not a party. Yeah. There is no advantage. The person, it's only this individual who has advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And for example, we know that this group will be headed by this one. These groups we call parties. We already know who will head them. We already know who their presidential candidates will be.
The flag bearer will be.
Yes, so the processes of what do you call them? These gatherings they call to choose people.
Primaries.
Yeah, but that gathering for
conference,
the delegates conference, we know that there are certain outcomes which are already
predetermined.
Yeah, predetermined. So I think it's important to look at this assessment of readiness within the political context that we are in. The other one is about the finances. Yeah, if we catch Bate contributing to NUP, he knows he will be in trouble.
Yeah.
So if you look at the structures, you'll find that all the parties are using ad hoc structures. That a father of a boy who stood as an independent for a guild in a university, the father will come to be punished for his son taking a photo. That is how ad hoc we can be. In the rules of the institution, where is that? that Bate is my son, and he goes and becomes a lecturer in a pagan school, and you come and punish me? So this is the so readiness. No, we will get into this process called elections, but to a large extent, we know what is going to happen. Now, the NUP, in its want, for example, to be ready, has started something they call a GARI.
A guard.
No, Dr. Werike, actually, they haven't called you, but they have a training institute. Yeah, they have. They do train.
A leadership institute.
Yeah, they do have leadership institutes. They train. I know some of my people whom they call to go and teach. So they say we are training foot soldiers to guard our ballot.
Yeah.
So these developments are very important. You see, when you hear in Kenya they had Mungiki, these developments are very, very important to observe. You find that the secretariat of the Yellow Group, there will be another office of a chairman, where the funds for mobilizing young people in the so-called ghetto is administered there with a serving general deployed in the police force. So this ad hoc nature of these things is what we are dealing with. So readiness becomes largely a theoretical debate within the understanding of the political party dispensation.
Thank you. Beka Bate, the clock is ticking down to 2026. Do you see a level of readiness required for full participation within the political parties and formations?
Thank you. The other day I saw a letter from the Uganda police telling National Unity Platform that I had been to Mbale and was thinking about going to the west and the north. The letter stopping them, and I saw my good friend, the Secretary General, on Twitter talking about, complaining about it and the overreach of the police. And for me, when you are going to these general elections, there are two options. When they organize a match, a football match, there are three options. You are complaining that the referee, the linesman, are part of the team you are competing with. Actually, that team has got even. So when you add the 11 and you add also the 2, those are 14. You say they are even increased. They are 15, and for us we are only 11. So you have three options. The first option for you to participate in that football match, however unfair it is, however unbalanced it is. The second option for you to decline to participate in that football match. The third option is for you to participate and disregard whatever rules that are there. If you say these rules are unfair, they are not part of the game, you go in that match and you totally disregard. When the referee gives you a yellow card, you don't get out of. A red card, you don't get out of the football. So either we pray according to the rules, or we pray without the rules. Everyone does whatever they want. So and for me, on the people who are opposing Yoweri Museveni and his NRM, they are willing to participate in this football match. With the rules, however unfair with them. All they are doing is to complain about that these rules are unfair. So when you accept to participate and you are going to follow the rules, sure, they don't complain about the results. Because if the field is extremely unbalanced, extremely tilted against you, you certainly know what the outcome of this process is going to be. That is number one. Number two, the NRM, let's begin with the NRM. I think for me, the NRM, Museveni is one of the things people who are going to write books, us who are going to write about Museveni. After one time I asked my professor, but why are we not writing about Museveni? He said, people who are still alive, we don't write about them. We write about the dead because of what the living is capable of doing. But then we are going to write about Museveni. One of the things they write about is how selfish he was. He cares only about himself. For as long as something benefit him, benefit individual benefit, that is what he will do. Anything that he senses that it can benefit somebody else, he doesn't go into it. One, he has had 40 years of building a strong party.
Yeah.
That can outlive him. He has refused intentionally. When there were elements of trying to build a party, you know what he did? He summoned the delegates conference after whipping them. Then he changed the rules along the way. We used to say that the road doesn't work retrospectively, but here it worked retrospectively. They hounded all the elected people from the party, they chased them away, and the president now has the sole purpose, the sole power to appoint the people who run his political party.
Secretariat.
The secretariat. And not only that, even the secretariat, he does not trust them 100%. The people whom he has just handpicked, he does not trust them. So he goes and creates a parallel organization. And all those to the secretariat and the chairman's office, they are always in conflict. So you find the people of the same party, all of them are in conflict because the man on the top does not want to empower, does not want to create an organization. He wants something that is subservient to him.
And that affects the activities.
Exactly.
And the
nothing
readiness.
happens unless the chairman says so. You get all of the things the party does, they have only an audience of one. What is the chairman saying? And you cannot build strong parties like that. In the break, we are talking about CCM, Chama cha Mapinduzi. It has, Tanzania since Mwalimu Nyerere left, is it 85?
85.
They have had how many presidents? They have Mwinyi, they have had Mukapa, they have had Kikwete, they have had Magufuli, now they have Suruhu. Suruhu has got another 5 years. Perhaps they can explain that she was just completing the term of the other one. Perhaps they can allow, maybe they can engineer that. But we know for a fact that Suruhu will also is there, but is also going to go. Because they have an institution that is far stronger than the individuals within that institution. So, but for us here, NRM is going to be like a Kanu. The moment that they walk out of that organization, they walk out of power, that is the end of that organization. To the point that even the heir apparent doesn't believe NRM should stay. The heir apparent also doesn't believe that. He said NRM is the most reactionary organization we've ever had. It has lost touch with the people. It is no longer serving the purpose for which it was created. That is the heir apparent.
That's a clear signal.
You know, so he has already told you for as long as when he finally takes over the thing, because it's the heir apparent,
disband
he's going to dismantle this thing. So the thing called, and mind you, by the way, even the people running this organization themselves, those people you see who are, NRM people, when you are speaking to them off camera, they will tell you, we are here for different purposes. No, many of them don't believe in this thing. So it is going to crumble the moment that Yoweri Museveni, who is the super guru putting it together, the moment that super guru is no longer there. And he has no interest in running it because he only does things that benefit him as an individual.
So does that speak to NRM being unprepared or not ready for the upcoming election?
No, the NRM, because there is a fusion between the NRM and the state. You know, there is no difference between the NRM and the state. So they are one and the same. Therefore, because they have the state machinery, you will find the, like I've said, I've been reading the Hansard. You find people saying, here, this is saying, if you are not NRM, even just recently in the North, one of the RDCs was saying, if you don't have the NRM card, you will not get services. You know, so for them, they and the state are one and the same. There is no difference between the NRM and the state. So if you have the money and you have state power, people will always come. You know, people will always come. Even if you are the worst leader, they always come because human nature is normally inclined to wear their things. People like self-aggrandizement. So whenever somebody has got the power and has got the money, people will always come. But they don't come there because they believe that
actually it has been a disturbing voice from His Excellency the President. At times telling people in opposition-dominated areas that if you you're actually suffering because you did not vote
Yes.
for NRM.
And he's lying because the rest of Uganda would be milk. Because most of Uganda in that parliament, people who are opposition, the National Unity Platform that has got the majority has got 57. The FDC has got 30. The BP has got 9 and the UPC is at 12. So those are the...
Did you tell the people of Kawempe that they usually put a rope around their neck every time?
No, then you ask yourself, how is Karamoja looking like? It votes 100% in a time. How is the Kiruhura looking like? How is the...
How are opposition political parties prepared?
No, for me, for the opposition political parties, and I think NUP has got the opportunity. Yeah, it had the opportunity now because FDC is in disarray. Because the wrong hand of the Museveni's wrong hand found itself in the FDC, and Museveni, wherever they used to say that wherever he goes, he brings the chaos there. So when he goes there, he left chaos in the FDC. It is in disarray. It no longer exists as it is now. The Democratic Party, it is a family in the corner of the yellow, the yellow corner. The UPC's family also in the yellow corner. So the only party that had been left with some semblance of a political party is the NUP. And this one of PPF. For them, the Electoral Commission has so far refused to register them. PFF. The Electoral Commission is yet to register them as a political party. So the NUP had the opportunity to surely coerce the entire opposition against me. Unfortunately for them, I normally tell them I have good friends of mine in the NUP. Problem is that they want to give the country democracy, but themselves they are not democratic. I don't know how you give
NUP
that. Because you say
are not democratic.
Yes, for example, in the processes, for example, to arrive at who is going to be party president elsewhere. I mean, who's going to be party flag bearer?
Yeah.
How do you arrive at that? You say we are selecting. We are using vetting. Vetting, there is no scientific...
Not a delegates conference?
No, perhaps they will have, but I'm looking at choosing candidates for particular constituencies.
Oh, yeah.
They are going to do as they did in Kawen.
Yeah.
Now my question is, how do you tell me that you want to give the country democracy where one man, one vote, when you can't do it within your own party? How do you tell me that? How are you going to do that? How do you tell me that a selected group of people goes to Kawempe and says, I think you should be the candidate. I think you should be the candidate. I think you should be the candidate. In a way, actually, NRM then shines. Because for them...
You find their processes undemocratic?
Exactly. How do you tell me that?
Like in Kawempe, where they said they had sent teams to collect data on the candidate is popular, the aspirant is popular.
That is not scientific. That is not scientific. For me, scientific...
Then they have a public debate of aspirants to pick the best and also look at the qualifications and a team assesses.
Democracy is... Please get your registered member.
Yes.
Let them decide on their own country.
Yes.
Why are you deciding from headquarters?
Did the NRM do it in Kawempe's case?
Then you are seeking to be better than the NRM. Then why are you replacing it? Because you are telling us this organization is really bad. Everything it represents is worse. I want to offer an alternative. How do you seek to offer an alternative that is worse than the alternative you are trying to offer? So for me, I think NUP, you have got the opportunity to surely take this country to another level. But these things tell me, subservient, you have to be... I saw yesterday Mwanga Chivumbi, the MP for Maokot, I mean for Mutambala, saying, in Mutunyendo you have no MP. Where?
Entebbe municipality.
You don't have MP. In Mitiana, you don't have MP. We are coming. Surely. And who is saying? Are the people of Mitiana saying we don't have an MP? Why don't you? Because in Mitiana you have members of NUP. Why don't you subject these people to
those
the members
structures?
Yes. Why
to
must
elect.
it be that there is a central executive? We are normally reeling about the NRM Central Executive Committee, that it sits and it vets. You know, it is the one which is going to. Can you imagine? You are in the Central Executive Committee and you want to be a member of the Central Executive Committee, but the incumbents, the ones you want to replace, they're the ones to either choose you to be a candidate, not only to select you, but they want to select you to be a candidate to oppose them. And we have said many times we are not members of the NRM, but we have said there is no way you can tell a group that it is the one to vet who can stand against them. We've said that is undemocratic for NRM. How can it be then democratic for the NUP to do the same thing? Then why are you seeking to replace Museveni and his NRM, yet you are seeking to do things that even NRM has walked away from? So I think for me, and I have said this many times when UP friends of mine, that surely you must. Last time, like Dr. Wanzala has been saying, you had last time they registered the party in June. Yet we had nominations. I mean, in July, we had nominations in August, September. It was understandable to use that method of choosing who should be your candidate.
That selection process.
But you have had 5 solid years, you get, to organize a party and make sure people are involved. For you to tell me that I've gone to the constituents and I've asked...
But it is Baguma. And even you pointed out that every time these opposition parties go up country to organize their grassroots structures, they are confronted and they are even blocked from undertaking those processes. So how do you expect them to have structures in every constituency to elect these leaders?
Politics is the art of the possible. You know why I'm not a leader, why I'm not selecting to be a leader? Because there are many things they cannot do. You get? For you, these things, and we are not, when you are starting off, you are not oblivious of how the state of NRM has been acting for the last 30 years. You know,
so in this case, what do you do?
Exactly. But you looked at them and you said, Museveni does not allow...
In this case, what do you do if your offices are raided, if your people are taken to prison, are in prison, the leaders, local leaders are in prison? What do you do? You don't have structures.
Apollo. All these things are known to you. All of them, from the word go. You get? They are known to you. They are not secrets.
Yeah.
We have known how Museveni acts. We have even had the opportunity of reading books of Betrayed by My Leader, The Struggle Betrayed, many books. You know, we have seen firsthand how this regime has acted. And you say that maybe it's this, for me, I can handle them. You come. You bring yourself that I've come to handle them with all these problems. You know the argument you are trying to give is the people normally who are corrupt. They say police is corrupt because they pay them very small money. The salary of police is known. Everyone knows it. That
but
if
they
you
still join.
But you still join. So the fact that you have joined, it means you agree to the terms and conditions.
So it is incumbent on the
exactly for you to find solutions out of this. You cannot tell me that you see because Museveni is acting. Then you come out and tell us that Museveni has put a stumbling block that we cannot surmount. Therefore, we give up another one who can try. Please come on. But for as long as you have not done that, we will continue demanding. For me, I'm not looking at what is stopping you. Because these stammering blocks, you already knew them. You must get a way out of them. That way I don't know. The reason why I'm not a leader, yet I qualify.
All right.
When you compare with so many of our people in politics now, is because I don't have those solutions.
All right.
So the fact that I'm not there, because I cannot offer the solution. You who has chosen yourself and you have said me, I can handle. Please don't tell me that there is no solution. If you think there is no solution, please leave so that you get others who think there is a solution.
Thank you, Bati. Thank you for the submissions. Comrades, good morning. As a country, after some good years of NRM, the government especially was not ready for the reintroduction of multipartyism. It's unfortunate that majority African political parties are not self-reliant in terms of finance and not generally organic. our political growth in Uganda from slightly independence and Africa at large are broadly inferred with the interest of imperialists, and we are suffering the ripple effects of the same imperialism with our cousin capitalism. Going forward, Uganda will have to do a serious self-examination in the political arena if we must have meaningful success in the overall development of the country. Africa's problem, just like Chinua Achebe said, is leadership, and this includes, although not limited to properly structured and governed political parties. Aruta continua. This is Comrade Rugarama, and he's watching. He says NRM still has a chance to reinvent ourselves, and I am optimistic that I will see this in my lifetime. We pray that you do.
No, he did a stellar job. Was it last week? Really is
better than
we were saying, maybe he knew OO is going to resign and his position.
And OO actually is serious. He said he would resign on Monday.
When next week?
I've seen even him online posters or something about him standing.
And actually, I would love OO to be
in parliament.
Yeah, because he's better than so many of people in that parliament. I might disagree with him, but you don't have to take away the fact that.
But just 1 minute. Don't you think that is why Bobi Wine is contemplating a protest vote?
Protest what?
Protest vote in favor of
What does it mean?
That he has seen that the structures, he has not been allowed to build structures, him and his group. Now, let's go into this election, not looking for victory, but to show our protest.
For me, I'm
to demonstrate our protest.
Journalist communication. I have 2 degrees, actually 3 degrees in communication. And one of the things we do when you're doing public information programs, one of the things we also do pre-testing. Or if you have a message, you have to pre-test it. And the message should be as clear. When you're putting out a message, it shouldn't have room for interpretation. What you say is what you must communicate. When you communicate it, and actually it has got 2 meanings, 3 meanings, you go back on the drawing board and you redesign when you are pre-testing it. So when you have a message that is not understood, it means that it will not be understood. When it is bound to be interpreted differently, it means that it will not be effective. So effective communication means that what you say is what is understood. So I am still at loss to understand what does protest vote mean. Somebody really should help me understand. Do you protest by voting? Do you protest by keeping away? So I really don't know what it means
Dr. Wanzala
protest the vote.
Otherwise, will give us his understanding of a protest vote. Bobi Wine is contemplating, in the current circumstances.
I think there are 2 things. One, there is election boycott, meaning that you are refusing to participate in an election. Then there is a protest vote. This protest vote means probably you are going to stir anger in the population, and then the vote that is being cast is not based on the issues at play, but maybe to get rid of someone.
That's
and also using the election probably to mobilize for probably urban protests and other things, but not going there to participate in the democratic process
for a victory,
with the expectation to win.
A victory.
So why are you participating?
Those are the reasons. Richard, what do you pick from that issue of a protest vote as anticipated by Bobi Wine?
When you are messaging to the public, you must keep inventing yourself. I don't know what they call a chinya in English. A chinya is this lizard like which is in the house, the one inside the house, not the one outside. And even a snake is reptiles. You shed your skin periodically, and then you try to get a new skin, but you remain a lizard. You don't transform into something else. So it's the same as
Ichinya.
these politicians, like they are like Vinya. You have to shade your skin and try to tell the one who is seeing, but you still remain a Chinya, you remain a lizard. So it is the same when you are messaging to the public. You have to look for something to tell them, because if you come and tell them that we are going to remove him, there was a phrase they were using.
Removing dictator.
And you didn't. You can't come and say the same thing. People will be looking at you and thinking, we have already had that. So now you come and say protest. You get another message. And so it's part of the demands for political messaging.
Does that speak of his party not being ready for this upcoming election?
No, you see, I told you, for me, readiness and non-readiness in the understanding of democratic multi-party dispensation, the circumstances for that don't exist. So we can't evaluate, we can't assess that. What I think that you can credit him for is that cleverness to be like a Chinya.
To reinvent himself.
You shade skin and present yourself as different. You see, I told you that now the protest vote. So let's go back to the ballot like we did last time.
Is it the same?
So it is, let's increase our members of parliament.
Okay. Is the reinvention of Bobi Wine with now a new slogan, protest vote, the same
And
as the same as what we have been seeing in NRM?
It is the same. It is Bonabagagaware, transformation, prosperity for all. Because if you say prosperity for all, what is the Uganda? You have just translated. You have just translated, yes. But this year you say prosperity for all, then you come and you shed your skin. You say Bonabagagaware. The only thing you have done is translate. But it appears.
Because those has been the slogans,
yes,
as elections.
So sloganeering
approach,
sloganeering, pamphleteering, songs, choiring. These are classic uses of election campaigns.
Thank you so much, and Dr. Were Wanzara, tell us what you think about what actually Richard talked about, the reinvention that now Bobi Wine and his team in anticipating and now telling us they are in for a process vote. That it's just a way of reinventing themselves and rebranding.
Yeah, even me, I by the way, I will not depart from him when he uses the opposite of Bobi Wine to demonstrate his example. Entandikwa, Bonabagagawale, prosperity for all. They sound different, but the same things. So in the previous election, we saw that it was in COVID, and holding rallies was really hard for Bobi Wine. And then that time, Tujako dictator was working because
removing a dictator.
But even the election they are going in, there's no difference between the mode of the campaign then and now. Only that it is a reinvention. Now you are seeing more youth with more boots, more to resonate with Tuzimbe Gali. Yeah, whatever just confront them. So it's going to work. But they raised something very important. Well, the last 5 years, we would have expected to see NUP having a resemblance of one organization with spread branches. By the way, it doesn't mean that when you're opening branches, all of them are opened at a go. Like in the Uganda sub-region here, where the dominant force now is NUP, there would be a resemblance of organized. I saw the formation of FDC. There are some areas that were very hostile, but they had to begin with the structures and elections in areas where they had a soft landing. like Acholi, then Lango, West Nile, Eastern Uganda, and then Ankole, they kept pushing until they had, and then there are some districts where you can have maybe 2 branches, and then others you have maybe 10 branches. That's what happens. But to date, I've been seeing the caravan kind of system. Like we discussed the NRM, that institutions crop up new leaders. People begin looking at others as, oh, this guy could be a better president. They begin comparing this one with the current president. That could also be a factor within NUP, that someone who acts as a president is looked at negatively and becomes a target. This happens in all these political parties, but sometimes if you are unseating what you call a dictatorship, then at least pretend, even if you are not able to do a real thing. Let me just tell viewers a story. When I was still active in the partisan politics in UPC, and we fell out during the delegates conference of which brought in Mama Miri Obote, we were blocked from Makerere because we had a different opinion, and then Kanyamaza to carry us out of Christ the King's hall. People who replaced us were Bayaye from town who had no purpose, but they entered
And they voted.
Oh. But as there was a pretense that there was some election taking place. So when we moved to form what at that time we said a third force, after NRM, FDC, we thought we come up with something called PAP, Progressive Alliance Party. Now, our presidential candidate then, who was the promoter in the delegates conference in Jinja, had no opponent. What we did, we had to get a young person who could not actually qualify, but there was age limit by then to be president, 35 years. This guy was young but big. We gave him a suit to appear to be challenging. He was more of a clown actually, to appear to be challenging the leader. And eventually we announced he had got 2 votes and this one had carried the day. So our supporters were happy, but they didn't know what had happened inside. So at least show that some democracy,
some semblance of democracy.
But you will not say, because we know that a lot of hell breaks out in the NRM. Child voters lining up. There's so many children now who line up and someone is counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Even 15-year-olds are in the line.
So you agree with Bate that the opposition should actually do something better, present something better than even what the NRM has presented?
Yes, actually they should be guided by the Political Parties and Organizations Act. Which says that political parties should behave democratically. They should show a national character. You not have a political party which only has one tribe, and then you say this is a national party. So there are guidelines there. They just have to visit it, reflect, and see if what they are doing, resonates with what is within the law. So that political parties become appealing.
And you fault the NUP for not having activities aligned to those principles and
I think
guidelines.
They should start moving away from only the caravan approach of going to Mbale on Republic Street, Bobby. Then you dance and then the caravan moves out of it and then goes to another town.
Okay.
The dancing continues.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gerard Wanzala. We must wind up. We only have like 4 minutes. The vision of NUP in the forthcoming elections as far as MPs are concerned. They are fighting for 100 seats in a parliament over 500 seats. That means they have already conceded to NRM. Baguma, talk about it. Thank you. This is Nkuraba Henry, Magamaga Yuge District. Thank you so much, gentleman from Magamaga. Are you ready to make a comment, Baguma? You are
no, if indeed the target is 100 MPs as the outcome of the protest
vote,
then I don't think there is anything meaningful there out of 500 plus.
Good presentation from the panel. I think now we have a situation where a lizard is trying to demonstrate that it can camouflage better than a chameleon. The result, of course, is known. Osbatin Mutungo, thank you so much. And we can now wind up with a final comment. Bate, final comment?
I think for me, NUP, the reason I talk about them is because they are the most viable alternative to the NRM.
Yeah.
I am afraid. I am very distraught with the NRM because surely. Let me tell you just a very small story before
In just 1 minute.
Yes. At our home in Nigeria, before the thieves of Kampala, I mean the thieves in the government went to and bought our land there and became one of the places of rich people. There used to be an old woman who was very tough, but her home she had very many jackfruits and what have you. So for you to go and eat, when you were growing up, even if you have them, we are not stealing, but that was the nature of things, that you go and eat them. So for you to go and eat the jackfruit from our place, you would go up with there and come down with the jackfruit. You cannot resist it down. So there was a time actually a friend of mine was harvesting the jackfruit and the lady came. So what the boy did, he removed the shutter and put the jackfruit on the shutter and it fell. She thought the boy had died, so she ran away. But with age, we would go in our place and harvest the jackfruit, allow it to fall, because she would just ask from the house, who is there?
She has age. She has age.
She could not get out of the house to
relate it to this situation now.
Now, Museveni, that is where we are. We have a president now who is 80-something. You get? Now the kids, if they have been stealing from him when he was 40, and because I've been following, he has been crying all along. But now when he's still, I saw him in South Sudan trying to get off a plane. Really was struggling to get down. Now imagine allowing him to be president for another 5 years. I don't know why the thieves are going to run amok. So surely there is reason to believe that there must be change in this country. It is imminent. But unfortunately, we are seeing a lot of incoherence on the people who ought to be replacing.
Thank you, Bate. Just a final word, Richard.
As always, this country is not going to shift. It's going to be here. We are going to go through another election. We shall box each other. Now I see that with only 180 million, you can buy an armored car from NEC, Ruwero Industries. So we are going to have a few more armored cars on the road. And 2026, we will come back here and start assessing who was stoned, who was tear gassed, who was abducted, who was,
shot.
Yeah. And we will be moving. And that's part of the... I keep calling it a tragedy. That's part of the tragedy of this. But that you can have a functional, well-organized, well-structured political party in the current circumstance.
All right.
Is a very academic discussion.
Just 30 seconds, please.
Political parties are vehicles for grooming leaders, vehicles for running government. Today, I feel sad that almost all political parties are in disarray. I think the context needs to change.
Sure.
Otherwise, we cannot have an organized country with this kind of institutions, including the ruling NRA.
Thank you so much, our viewers. Our time is fast spent. We'll catch up again next Saturday in another edition of The Dialogue. I thank the viewers, those who sent in comments and observations. Richard in Tugamo, I didn't read your message, and many others. Thank you so much. My production team, thank you so much. Until next weekend, good afternoon. God bless you. God bless Uganda.